This is Pastor Jim Driscoll of Christ Lutheran Church with the NCTV 45 thought for the day. We're talking about emotional quotient and also emotional intelligence, goes either way, which can also be quantified in terms of emotional quotient. In their book, Travis Bradbury and Gene Greaves, they describe how our minds are hardwired to process emotional versus analytical, rational thinking. Think sort of Mr. Spock in Star Trek versus Captain Kirk. Uh, Captain Kirk, the emotions into your brain at the base of your brain near the spinal cord, but must travel to your frontal lobe before reaching the place where emotional, logical thinking takes place. Trouble is, they pass through your limbic system along the way, the place where emotions are produced. And this journey ensures you experience things emotionally before your reason can kick into gear. End of quote. Wikipedia defines emotional intelligence, EI or EQ, either way, the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions, as well as perceive and influence the emotions of others. It is a vital, learnable skill set that directly drives better communication, conflict resolution, and leadership success. I was reading, end quote. I was reading an article today that EQ, emotional quotient, is becoming a very important factor in hiring and promoting, that employers are looking for people with high EQ, like IQ, intelligence quotient. EQ can be tested and quantified. The book I'm reading, Emotional Intelligence 2.0, contains links to websites where you can test your EQ. It is becoming an even more important factor with those who are lawyers, physicians of various kinds, salespeople, those who are more productive by being more relatable. Another book I'm reading called Suicidal Empathy, and that's kind of the same subject but a different twist, by Gad Sad, describes an interesting study, quote, to the extent that contagious yawning constitutes a form of mirroring, people who are more empathetic are more likely to exhibit this physiological contagion. Additionally, contagious yawning is more likely to occur between close individuals, relatives, close friends, instead of strangers. And the yawn contagion has even been documented, and this is interesting, between humans and dogs, suggesting that our canine companions, also as social species, exhibit the aptitude for empathy. And anybody who's been around dogs, I think they know that dogs can be very empathetic. I'm Jim Driscoll, pastor at Christ Lutheran Church, 1302 East Washington Street, Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Check us out on the web. It's christlutheran-newcastle.org. Questions, comments, contact me on the website. For a transcript of today's thought, go to revjamesdriscollmdiv.com. Sunday worship is at 10:30 p.m. a.m. All are welcome with the NCTV 45 thought for the day. God bless your day. This is Pastor Jim Driscoll of Christ Lutheran Church with the NCTV 45 thought for the day. I'm recording this last week, and this week is going to be a little difficult, but I just wanted to be on record that if the New York Knicks win the NBA championship, I'm probably going to throw up copiously. Second, I will be in surgery on Wednesday for colon cancer, your prayers would be certainly appreciated. And that is for the surgery, not for the throwing up. Either way. When we started talking about emotional intelligence, or EQ, emotional quotient, essentially the ability to be empathetic with another person. And there certainly is a place for this. This actually is becoming somewhat in demand among employers and patients and other types of constituents. The current authority is Travis Bradbury and Gene Greaves. Their book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0, has become the textbook for this subject. They suggest that you go online to find the emotional intelligence appraisal, which is, and you can Google that, emotional intelligence appraisal. And that's a test for you to determine where you currently are at, what your level of emotional intelligence is at the time you take the test. I want to remind you that when I recommend a book, I am strongly suggesting that you read the entire book. You will not get enough information from my 3-minute blips to genuinely understand the subject. As was said before, because of the way that God wired our brains, our first reaction to an event is emotional. That can be trained out, but it is something that does require a lot of training and discipline, very hands-on exercises. But as they point out, you do control the thoughts and emotions. When something generates a prolonged emotional reaction in you, it is called a trigger event. Your reaction to your trigger events is shaped by your personal history, which includes your experience with similar situations. To be sure, based on gender, yes, really, based on where you live, parents, siblings, school, lots of things that have to be considered in your emotional awareness. So your reaction needs to be measured, needs to be considered as dispassionately as possible. It is those times when people just rush in with an emotional reaction that they get in trouble. The writers suggest that as your EQ skills grow, you'll learn to spot your triggers. I know one of my triggers is pull in front of me and see what happens in your car. Practice productive ways of responding that will become habitual. Someday I probably will. Who knows? I'm Jim Driscoll, pastor of Christ Lutheran Church, 1302 East Washington Street, Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Check us out on the web. It's christlutheran-newcastle.org. Questions, comments, contact me on the website. For a transcript of today's thought, go to revjamesdriscollmdiv.com. Sunday worship is at 10:30 a.m. All are welcome. With the NCTV 45 thought for the day, God bless your day. This is Pastor Jim Driscoll of Christ Lutheran Church with the NCTV 45 thought for the day. Started talking about emotional intelligence, or EQ, emotional quotient, essentially the ability to be empathetic with another person. And there certainly is a place for this. This is actually becoming somewhat in demand among employers and patients and other types of constituents. The current authority is Travis Bradbury and Gene Greaves. Their book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0, has become the textbook for this subject. Also, if you are on LinkedIn, Travis Bradbury has a regular blog there that I try to read a lot, not all the time because I lose track. But I do try to keep track with Travis on that. Emotional intelligence is your ability to recognize and understand emotions in yourself and others, and your ability to use this awareness to manage behavior and relationships. Emotional intelligence is the something in each of us that is a bit intangible. It affects how we manage behavior, navigate social complexities, and make personal decisions that achieve positive results. First, it is really knowing about your own emotional makeup, why you react emotionally in certain circumstances, in order for you to be able to be more objective in your response. We all have knee jerk reactions to different stimuli. As I said yesterday, pull in front of me with your car, and that gets a reaction. Also, for example, say New York Yankees or New York Knicks winning the NBA championship, then that will probably make me throw up. I'm Jim Driscoll, pastor of Christ Lutheran Church, 1302 East Washington Street in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Check us on the web. It's christlutheran-newcastle.org. Questions, comments, contact me on the website. For a transcript of today's thought, go to Rev. James Driscoll, mdiv.com. Sunday worship is at 10:30 a.m. All are welcome with the NCTV 45 thought for the day. God bless your day. This is Pastor Jim Driscoll of Christ Lutheran Church with the NCTV 45 thought for the day. Emotional intelligence is a flexible skill that can be learned. Travis Bradbury and Gene Greaves, their book Emotional Intelligence 2.0, write further, quote, personality is the final piece of the puzzle. It's the stable style that defines each of us. Your personality is a result of your preferences, such as inclination to introversion or extroversion. However, like IQ, personality can't be used to predict emotional intelligence. Also, like IQ, personality is stable over a lifetime. People often assume that certain traits are associated with higher EQ, but those who prefer to be with other people are no more emotionally intelligent than people who prefer to be alone. You can use your personality to assist in developing your EQ, but the latter isn't dependent on the former. EQ is a flexible skill while personality does not change. IQ, EQ, and personality assessed together are the best way to get a picture of the whole person. When you measure all three in a single individual, they don't overlap much. Instead, each covers unique ground that helps to explain what makes a person tick. End quote. To determine your EQ, you should take the assessment to figure out what your level is. It's emotional intelligence appraisal. If you Google that, emotional intelligence appraisal, you should find the link to that, and to also begin to study the subject in order for you to grow in that particular trait. As a pastor, this is a skill that would be desirable to grow and to improve my ability. You should decide how much it could help you and whether you should dig deeper. Regardless of your profession, I think it would be helpful. I'm Jim Driscoll, pastor of Christ Lutheran Church, 1302 East Washington Street, and that is in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Check us out on the web. It's christlutheran-newcastle.org. Questions, comments, contact me on the website. For a transcript of today's thought, go to Rev. James Driscoll, mdiv.com. Sunday worship is at 10:30 a.m. All are welcome. With the NCTV 45 thought for the day, God bless your day. This is Pastor Jim Driscoll of Christ Lutheran Church with the NCTV 45 Thought for the Day. Travis Bradbury and Gene Greaves, in their book Emotional Intelligence 2.0, which has become the textbook for this subject, they rate emotional intelligence as your ability to recognize and understand emotions in yourself and others, and your ability to use this awareness to manage your behavior and your relationships. Emotional intelligence is the something in each of us that is a bit intangible. It affects how we manage behavior, navigate social complexities, and make personal decisions that achieve positive results. As said before, IQ, or your personality, as an introvert or an extrovert, and what your EQ is, determined to be taken together. EQ, IQ, personality begins to shape your ability and are also the best way to get a picture of yourself in total. When you measure all three in a single individual, they don't overlap much. Instead, each covers unique ground that helps to explain what makes each person tick. As I said before, this is the skill that you can develop and is in high demand for different kinds of jobs. If you have a good ability relating to people in various emotional states, this will make you better in your profession, e.g., teacher, lawyer, manager, anyone who relates to the public in general, Indian chief, right? Bradbury and Greaves write, quote, EQ is so critical to success that it accounts for 58% of performance in all types of jobs. It's the biggest single predictor of performance in the workplace and the strongest driver of leadership and personal excellence, end quote. This is definitely a strong rating for this particular skill. They list the various personal skills, decision making, time management, change tolerance, assertiveness, empathy, stress tolerance, communication skills, presentation skills, social skills, anger management, customer service, accountability, trust, flexibility. The person that has the skill to wisely utilize all of these emotional situations will be very well equipped to interact with customers, management, peers, anyone they come in contact with during their workday. If you are looking to advance your skill set, I highly recommend that you begin to find resources to help you study EQ and to grow in your abilities. I'm Jim Driscoll, pastor of Christ Lutheran Church, 1302 East Washington Street. That is in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Check us out on the web. It's christlutheran-newcastle.org. Questions, comments, contact me on the website. For a transcript of today's thought, go to revjamesdriscollmdiv.com. Sunday worship is at 10:30 a.m. All are welcome. With the NCTV 45 Thought for the Day, God bless your day.